Ever wish you could reach back in time? Not to change a thing, but just to feel it one more time? To feel the heft of a telephone handset in your hand, hear the specific, satisfying click of a plastic toy, or catch a whiff of a scent that teleports you straight to your grandmother's kitchen. It's a strange and powerful kind of time travel, and it doesn't require a machine, just an object. An ordinary, everyday object that has somehow survived the decades, patiently waiting to spring open a secret memory, a forgotten feeling. These things, these tangible bits of our past, are so much more than just old items. They're memory containers, each one emotionally loaded, preserving not just the design of an era, but the habits, the routines, and the shared experiences of the people who lived it. They are shortcuts to a bigger story, telling us who used them, when, and what daily life truly felt like. They make history touchable. Recently, we unearthed a collection of these everyday treasures from the 1970s. Simple things, really. The kind of stuff you could find in almost any home, school, or car 50 years ago. But as we started to explore them, we realized they weren't just objects. They were keys. Keys to a flood of forgotten feelings and stories. Join us on this cozy, nostalgic journey as we rediscover the feelings of a bygone time, one simple object at a time. Let's begin with a sound that's become rare in daily life, yet was once the universal soundtrack of connection. It's the whirring, clicking sound of this, the rotary telephone. Before you could tap a glass screen or ask a smart speaker to call someone, there was this substantial, almost architectural piece of equipment. It sat proudly on a hallway table, or was mounted firmly to the kitchen wall, a heavyweight champion of communication that tethered you to the house with a coiled cord that never seemed to be quite long enough. Using it was a physical act, a small ritual of patience. You didn't just dial a number, you engaged with it. You'd sink your finger into a perfectly molded hole and pull the dial all the way to the small metal stop. Then, you'd let go, and the magic would happen. That slow, rhythmic journey back to the start, with its series of clicks, that was the language of the telephone network. It was called pulse dialing, and each number was represented by a series of electrical interruptions on the line. Dialing a 1 was quick. A 9 or a 0, however, required commitment. It was a tiny test of patience, a moment of enforced slowness in a world that was already starting to speed up. And heaven help you if you were in a hurry and misdialed. There was no backspace, only the sigh of hanging up and starting all over again. But what feeling does it bring back? Deliberate connection. A phone call wasn't a casual multitasking affair. It was an event. The weight of the bakelite or heavy plastic handset felt significant, a real link to the person on the other end. You couldn't wander around the house. You were anchored to one spot by that tangled, springy cord. But this limitation created a space for focused conversation. You'd lean against the wall, twirling the cord around your finger, or maybe duck into a nearby closet for a secret chat with a friend. This was a device that demanded your presence. It fostered a different kind of listening because the act of communicating took more effort. It wasn't just about hearing a voice, it was about the ritual of getting there. The rotary phone is a monument to a time when conversations had a physical weight, a defined space, and a pace that was refreshingly, wonderfully slow. Do you remember stretching that cord to its absolute limit? Next up is an object that represents playground politics and the taste of home, all in one rectangular package, the classic metal lunchbox. From the 1950s through the 1970s, these weren't just for carrying a sandwich, they were billboards of identity. The TV show or character emblazoned on the front could define your social standing for an entire school year. A lunchbox featuring a hit show like Speed Buggy or a band like the Bee Gees meant you were in. Carrying a less popular theme, however, could be social suicide. These boxes were a kid's first try at personal branding, a statement that said, "This is who I am. This is what I love." The whole experience was a sensory one. There was the sharp metallic snap of the latch that, when echoed across the cafeteria, signaled the official start of lunch. There was the satisfying clunk it made on the table. And then there was the smell. Oh, that smell. A unique, inescapable mix of slightly warm peanut butter sandwiches, the faint sweetness of a bruised apple, and the distinct plasticky scent of the matching thermos. Inside, everything had its place. The sandwich in wax paper, a bag of chips, and maybe a Twinkie. But the centerpiece was the thermos. While many of us remember the heartbreak of dropping our lunchbox and hearing the dreaded rattle of a shattered glass liner, by the 1970s, manufacturers were increasingly using more durable plastic liners. The feeling this metal box conjures is one of childhood security. It was a tangible piece of home you carried into the chaotic world of school. No matter what happened that day, a tough test, a playground squabble, the contents of that box were a predictable comfort. It was a parent's love, packed and sealed. The designs on the outside were about fitting in, but the meal on the inside was about being cared for. These boxes were daily dispatches from the safety of the family kitchen, clutched in a small hand, a trusty companion for the journey of growing up. What was on your lunchbox? Let's move on to a piece of tech that felt like pure magic. It needed no batteries, no electricity, and had no screen, yet it could transport you to faraway lands, futuristic worlds, or deep inside your favorite cartoon. I'm talking about the ViewMaster. This clunky, colorful plastic device was part toy, part personal cinema. To use it was to enter a private miniature world. You'd hold the viewer up to your eyes, and the outside world would just disappear. It was like a personal cocoon, creating an immersive experience long before virtual reality was a buzzword. The ritual was always the same. You'd pick a reel, a thin cardboard disc with 7 pairs of tiny transparent color photos. The reels themselves were beautiful, with rich, saturated colors thanks to the Kodachrome film they used. You'd slide the reel into the slot, and then, the moment of truth. You'd pull down the lever on the side. Click. A new, stunningly three-dimensional image would appear. The mechanism was beautifully simple and satisfying. That gentle mechanical click was a quiet metronome setting a slow, deliberate pace. There was no autoplay, no algorithm feeding you the next image. You were in complete control, lingering on a shot of the Grand Canyon or a scene from a Disney movie for as long as you wanted. Each reel was a story in 7 frames. The feeling this simple toy gave us was one of quiet wonder and focused escapism. In a world before endless scrolling, the ViewMaster demanded you slow down and simply look. It was mindfulness disguised as entertainment. The images were static, but the 3D effect gave them a startling depth. It felt like you could almost reach out and touch the scene. Initially sold to adults as a way to view tourist attractions, it quickly found its true calling in the hands of kids, offering a vibrant escape when TV was still mostly black and white. The ViewMaster wasn't just a toy, it was a portal. It was the feeling of holding a whole world in your hands, a personal sanctuary you could enter with a simple, satisfying click. Do you remember the first reel you ever saw? Now for an object that sparked a revolution. While portable radios existed before, this was the device that truly put music in our pockets, untethering a whole generation from the family living room. This is the transistor radio. Before this, radios were bulky pieces of furniture powered by vacuum tubes. The invention of the transistor changed everything. By the late 1950s and into the 70s, companies like Sony were making small, stylish, and cheap transistor radios that became the era's most popular electronic device. For a teenager, the transistor radio was more than a gadget. It was a declaration of independence. It was a passport to a private world of rock and roll, soul, and pop music, away from the prying ears of parents. Suddenly, music wasn't confined to the family console. It could go anywhere, to the park, the beach, or hidden under a pillow late at night. This portability created a huge shift in youth culture. You could tune into your favorite AM station, listen to the top 40 countdown, and make the music a personal soundtrack to your life. The sound quality wasn't hi-fi. It was often tinny and staticky, but that didn't matter. What mattered was the freedom. The feeling it gave was one of personal liberty and cultural connection. Owning a transistor radio meant you had control over your own media. You were no longer just a passive listener to whatever your parents chose. You were a curator. The radio itself was an object of desire, with cool futuristic designs like the Panasonic Tutaloop, a donut-shaped radio you could wear on your wrist. Holding a transistor radio, turning the dial through the crackle of static to find your favorite song. That was the feeling of being connected to a vast, invisible community. It was the sound of a generation finding its own voice, one tinny speaker at a time. What was the first song you remember hearing on your own radio? Let's head to the kitchen, the heart of the 1970s home, for an item that represents innovation, social connection, and a very specific color palette. I'm talking about Tupperware, but not just any Tupperware. I mean the sets in those classic 70s colors: harvest gold, burnt orange, and avocado green. These weren't just plastic containers, they were a revolutionary food storage system and the cornerstone of the Tupperware party. Invented by Earl Tupper in the 1940s, the containers had a patented airtight burping seal. But the product flopped in retail stores because no one knew how to use the seal. It was a woman named Brownie Wise who saw the potential and pioneered the home party plan. Hosted by Women for Women, these parties were part product demo, part social hour. The hostess would show everyone how to burp the container to prove its airtight seal. By the 1970s, Tupperware was a household name, and its colors were a perfect match for the era's home decor. The Cervelier line, with its iconic sunburst-style lid that sealed with a single push in the center, was a huge hit. The feeling from a stack of vintage Tupperware is a complex mix of domestic nostalgia and a sense of quality that lasts. For many, the sight of a classic Wonderlier bowl instantly brings back memories of a grandma's kitchen or a favorite snack pulled from the fridge. There's a comforting solidity to these items. They were built to last, and many have. The colors themselves are a time capsule for the decade's whole look. Owning Tupperware wasn't just practical, it was a sign of being a modern, efficient homemaker. These containers are more than plastic. They're vessels of care, holding not just food, but memories of family meals and the quiet hum of a well-run home. Did your family have a go-to Tupperware for leftovers? Our next item isn't a single object so much as a complete experience. It represents the meeting of technology, convenience, and a major shift in the family dinner ritual. Let's talk about the TV dinner, served on its own foldable tray table. First introduced by Swanson in the 1950s, by the 1970s, the frozen TV dinner was a well-established part of American life. Companies like Swanson, Banquet, and Morton offered meals like Salisbury steak or fried chicken, all pre-portioned in a sectioned aluminum tray. The appeal wasn't gourmet food. Far from it. The appeal was pure convenience. In many homes, it was a weeknight ritual. You'd preheat the oven, peel back a corner of the foil, and slide the tray in. For a kid, there was a certain magic to it. The mashed potatoes might be a little gray, the peas a bit dry, and the brownie in the dessert compartment often had a slightly metallic taste, but that was all part of the charm. And the meal was only half the equation. The other half was where you ate it, on a folding TV tray table, set up right in front of the console television. This simple piece of furniture enabled a new kind of family time, one that revolved around watching The Bionic Woman or The Rockford Files together. The feeling unlocked here is one of comforting routine and casual intimacy. It was freedom from a formal sit-down meal. It was the thrill of eating in the living room, a place usually off-limits for dinner. The taste was always consistent, that Salisbury steak always had the same springy texture. This predictability was its strength. It wasn't about the food, but the experience. It was about merging mealtime and screen time, a practice that's everywhere today but felt new and exciting then. It was the sound of foil peeling back, the clatter of a fork against aluminum, and the theme song of your favorite show. It was the taste of a simpler, more convenient time. What was your favorite TV dinner? Next, we have a device that delivered instant gratification long before the internet. It was a marvel of engineering, a piece of futuristic design, and a camera that developed a photo right before your eyes. This is the legendary Polaroid SX70. Introduced in 1972, the SX70 was revolutionary. Unlike earlier Polaroid cameras, it was a true one-step process. The camera itself was a thing of beauty. Collapsed, it was a flat rectangle of leather and chrome. To use it, you'd pull up the viewfinder, and it would unfold with a series of satisfying clicks into its iconic shape. As an SLR camera, what you saw through the viewfinder was exactly what the lens saw, a huge deal for an instant camera. But the real show started after you pressed the red shutter button. With a whir of motors, the camera would eject a blank square. And then you'd watch in amazement as an image slowly materialized out of a pale green or magenta haze, the colors deepening until a full, tangible memory appeared in your hand. The feeling this camera sparked was one of pure, unadulterated magic. It collapsed the time between capturing a moment and holding it. Each photo felt precious, not just because the film was expensive. A 10-picture film pack cost about $6.90, making each shot a significant purchase, but because it was a unique object. There were no negatives, no digital copies. This was it. The physical artifact was the memory. The photos had a distinct look, soft focus, dreamy, saturated colors, and often unexpected quirks that made each one perfectly imperfect. This wasn't about capturing a technically flawless image. It was about capturing a feeling. The Polaroid SX70 was a memory-making machine. Do you remember shaking a Polaroid picture? Let's return to the kitchen for something that was a staple in millions of homes, known for its incredible durability and cheerful patterns. I'm talking about Corelle Livingware and its matching Pyrex counterparts. Launched by Corning in 1970, Corelle was made from a revolutionary laminated glass called Vitrel that made it famously lightweight and nearly unbreakable. It was the perfect everyday dinnerware. What really cemented these dishes in our memory were the patterns. Corning began releasing Pyrex compatibles, bakeware designed to coordinate with popular Corelle patterns. Suddenly, your whole kitchen could match, and the patterns were pure 70s. There was Spring Blossom Green, also known as Crazy Daisy, with its sprigs of doodled flowers. There was Butterfly Gold, with its delicate golden yellow floral motif. And then there were the popular blue snowflake designs, like the snowflake blue pattern seen on both Corelle and coordinating Pyrex pieces, which has become a favorite for collectors. The feeling these dishes bring back is one of enduring, everyday warmth. They represent the heart of the family home, countless dinners, holiday meals, quick breakfasts. Seeing a plate with the Crazy Daisy pattern can instantly transport you back to your mother's or grandmother's table. Because they were so durable, these dishes were used constantly, the silent witnesses to decades of family life. They weren't fine china for special occasions. They were the stuff of daily life. They hold the memory of shared meals and conversation, of comfort food served hot from a matching Pyrex casserole dish. They're a tangible link to the comforting predictability of home. Which pattern do you remember from your childhood kitchen? This journey back in time, sparked by these simple objects, reminds us that nostalgia is more than just a wistful feeling. It's a powerful connection to our past, our families, and our shared cultural history. These items weren't just things, they were the backdrop to our lives and the keepers of our memories. If this trip sparked a memory for you, if you felt a flicker of recognition at the sight of that metal lunchbox or the sound of a rotary phone, we would love to hear about it. Let us know in the comments what item from your past brings back the strongest feelings. What object from 50 years ago holds a secret memory for you? Sharing these stories is what keeps the warmth of that time alive. And if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more. From the deliberate connection of a rotary phone call to the instant magic of a Polaroid picture, each of these vintage finds tells a story. They speak of a time when technology was more tactile, when convenience was a novelty, and when everyday objects had a more solid, enduring presence. They're not valuable because they're rare, but because they are emotionally loaded, anchors to a time that feels both distant and intimately familiar. These objects may be simple, but they carry the warmth of a whole generation. What survives isn't just the plastic, the metal, or the glass, but the feeling these things once gave us, a feeling of security, of wonder, of independence, and of home. They remind us that the most profound memories are often held not in grand monuments, but in the humble, everyday things we once held in our hands. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.